good morning, and welcome. It is Sunday, July 6th, 2025. You're here with your guides from AcademiaBSB.
And I'm Paulo. So glad you could tune in. We're ready to explore some really interesting aspects of English communication today.
We absolutely are. Now, for everyone listening, this session comes straight from AcademiaBSB's English Conversations course. It's, tailor-made for super ambitious students like Mireille and Sophia.
That's right.
Our fantastic pre-med students who are really focused, working so hard towards getting into top public universities here in Brazil, or maybe even those Ivy League colleges in the US.
Exactly. And our goal with the course is really to push beyond just meeting the B1 level requirements of the CEFRL. That's the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages.
The international standard, yeah.
Right. It's all about giving you the real comprehensive communication skills you need for, well, basically any high-level academic or professional path you choose. Anywhere, really. Oh. And today, we're actually cracking open Mireille and Sophia's latest class notes. We're calling this session, how about Venture Vocabulary? The startup's secret sauce.
Ooh, I like that. It's got flair.
Doesn't it? It's all about the language of ambition. The lingo of people starting something new and how you actually talk about your big ideas. And the grammar focus underneath all this, the present perfect tense. Some related points.
Yeah, it's where, linguistic precision really meets that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
We've pulled some genuinely fascinating bits from their notes, things that show how mastering English could be just as vital as, say, a killer business plan.
Totally. So our mission today is pretty clear. Unpack the English language, but through the lens of building something like a business or a project. We're using Mireille and Sophia's notes directly to find those aha moments, those clicks.
Ready to get started.
Let's do it. Okay, first things first. Let's lay down some foundational stuff. The architectural blueprint, if you will, for clear communication. We're jumping into that crucial difference between the present perfect simple and the past simple.
The classic showdown.
Exactly. These aren't just abstract grammar rules, they're tools. Really critical tools for saying when something happened and how that timing affects your whole message, especially, in business.
Yeah, it's fascinating how they dictate clarity. Think about discussing timelines for deals or project updates. The notes really hammer home the core difference, right? Present perfect talks about actions at some unspecified time, but usually with a link to now. Like, the team has launched 3 new features this quarter. See, it highlights the result, what's been achieved up to this point.
Right, emphasis on now.
Whereas past simple nails down when it happened. The team launched the first feature last week.
Right.
Done. Finished. Specific past time. Knowing which one to use can literally change how, say, an investor sees your progress. Huge difference.
It really is. It's like building general confidence versus detailing a specific win. Let's try a quick back and forth based on their notes. Okay, I'll start. I've won a competition.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. What did you win?
Perfect. See, I've won a competition. That's present perfect. It's the big news, relevant now, but doesn't say when. It's the headline, the initial pitch. And then you immediately jump in with the past simple. What did you win? You want the specifics about that completed past event. It's like the follow-up questions you get from clients or investors once you've hooked them.
And this brings up another layer, doesn't it? Those regional quirks. The notes mention that interesting split between American and British English, particularly with the words like already and yet.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
In British English, you might hear, it has just started raining. But in American English, it's super common to hear, it just started raining. Simple past there. Or, have you sent her an email yet? That sounds quite British. Versus, did you send her an email yet?
Yeah.
Which is more American. It's like, localizing your ad campaign for different markets. Same idea, different dialect.
So true. And we see students get tripped up by this all the time. A classic mistake is mixing them up, like saying, Mom swept the balcony yesterday.
Happens a lot.
That yesterday pins it to a specific past time, so it needs the past simple. Mom swept the balcony yesterday. Sometimes these patterns, they kind of echo how you might say things in Brazilian Portuguese, right? Where maybe one past tense does the job of 2 in English. It's about retraining your brain, basically.
Precisely. And part of that retraining, a big part, is getting those irregular verbs down cold. The notes dive into verb groups 1 through 4. Think of these as like essential patterns for irregular verb mastery. Super important for sounding professional. So group 1 has patterns like bend, bent, dream, or dreamed both work, actually feel, felt. Group 2 is things like bring, brought, buy, bought. Group 3, you've got break, broke, awake, awoke. And Group 4, stuff like drink, drunk, sing, sung.
Got it.
Mirror Island, Sophia are tackling these right now, and they know Groups 5 to 8 are waiting for them down the road. It's a process.
Definitely a process. Okay, moving from the structure, the grammar, let's talk about the actual words, the building blocks. This is the lexicon for your startup journey, the vocabulary from the current class. Think of these as your essential toolkit words.
Right. And looking at the notes analytically, they define these terms pretty clearly, often giving synonyms or context. Let's run through them.
Okay.
To have breakfast versus deep breakfast, mostly the same, right? Though maybe have is a touch more common for meals generally.
Yeah, sounds right.
Feelings. Straightforward. Emotional states. Rent. Key term for any startup thinking about space payment for using property temporarily. Then distinguishing property types. House, apart, short for apartment, obviously, versus, well, the notes cheekily include under the bridge. Shows the spectrum of living situations relevant globally.
Bit of dark humor there.
Maybe. Type just means kind. Abroad simply means in or to another country. Topping like on a pizza, yes, but also think topping the charts for a market leader.
Nice business connection.
To greet means to welcome someone. To crash. This one's fun. Could be your server crashing, which is bad news for a tech startup.
Nightmare fuel.
Or crashing a party, showing up uninvited. Very different vibe. Then to figure out, basically solve or understand something, a startup founder's daily job description, right?
Pretty much.
With that super useful modal verb for hypotheticals, polite requests, meaning the significance or definition.
It's cool how these everyday words take on extra weight in a business context, isn't it? Like, to figure out isn't just solving a riddle. It's constant, relentless product development, problem solving.
Exactly. And while, yeah, the startup scene in Brazil might have its own flavor, its own pace, the need for clear English when you're operating globally, universal, non-negotiable.
Which brings us neatly to
pronunciation. Clear articulation. Let's call this part articulating your ambition, the current pronunciation practice.
Yes, because you can have the best idea in the world, but if people can't understand you in that pitch meeting or networking event, well, it's game over before it starts. Crystal clear delivery is paramount. Let's unpack some words from their notes.
Okay, focusing on common tricky spots. First, pronoun. Listen, PRO noun. A sentence might be, Riley paid attention to every pronoun. Don't let it sound like prone or something.
Got it.
Next, saw. As in, she had saw enough horror. Past tense of see. The vowel sound is key. It's not so like S-A-do or so S-E-W. Different words, different sounds.
Yeah, watch those vowels.
Throughout versus through. A sentence. She discovered remarkable life stories through her interviews. Through means by means of. Throughout means during the whole time. Hear that extra syllable. Throughout UT.
Subtle but important.
Very. Women. Plural.
No.
Stories from women. That O sounds like a short I, like in win. It's not like the O in woman singular, which is more like would. This trips up so many people.
Classic.
Then verbs ending in ed, faced,
Right.
would faced enormous barriers.
Right.
That ed sounds like a T here. Same for shaped. But then look, it's giad, received, and received the Nobel Prize. Here, the A makes the long E sound, and the ed sounds like D.
Okay, so T or D sound for ed.
Depends on the sound before it. And saved. That woman had saved countless lives. Again, sounds like D. Then you have courage. Stress on the first syllable sounds like courage, not Q-R-H-E-E.
Courage. Got it.
And prejudice. P-R-E Judas. Watch that short E sound at the start.
This is fantastic. It's really about decoding the sound barrier, isn't it? Making sure your message lands exactly as intended every single time.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's take our first quick break right there. We'll be back in a moment. Commercial break 1. And we're back. Before the break, we got into the nuts and bolts of present perfect versus past simple, stocked our toolkit with some essential startup vocabulary, and worked on articulating those words clearly. You're building that linguistic legacy.
Absolutely. Now, how about a little challenge to wake up the tongue muscles? A tongue twister, using some of those words. Try this. The remarkably courageous chemist faced countless barriers abroad.
Ooh, nice one. Say that 5 times fast.
Okay.
Love it. Let's shift gears now to language usage. This section from the notes is so practical. It's about navigating those everyday conversations, whether it's a, high-stakes startup pitch or just grabbing coffee.
Yeah, these distinctions are subtle, but super important for sounding natural. Let's break down the pairs they highlighted.
Go for it.
First up, what does it mean versus how do you say? Okay, the first one, what does it mean? Asks for a definition, the meaning of a word or phrase. The second one, how do you say? Haskell, ask for the actual pronunciation, or maybe the equivalent word in another language.
Okay, quick role play. Imagine we're at a tech conference, mingling.
Got it.
Looking slightly confused. Hey, people keep talking about bootstrapping. What does it mean?
Nodding. Good question. Bootstrapping means starting a business with very little external funding, relying on personal savings or revenue. Now, say you wanted to order that amazing Brazilian cheese bread. How do you say pão de queijo correctly in English?
Tricky one. Usually we just say cheese bread, maybe specify Brazilian cheese bread, or, just say pão de queijo with confidence.
Confidence is key.
Yeah.
Okay, next pair. When were you born versus how old are you? Straightforward, right? First one asks for the date.
Like 2003 or May 10th.
Exactly. The second one asks for the number of years you've been alive.
So if I say, when were you born? My sister was born in 2005.
Okay. So how old are you then, if you don't mind me asking? Different question.
Makes sense. What's next?
Theory of relativity versus relativity theory. Okay, these both point to Einstein's big idea. Theory of relativity is probably the more common standard way to say it in general conversation.
Right.
Relativity theory sounds a bit more concise, maybe a bit more academic or technical. You might see it written in scientific papers more often.
So I might ask someone, are you familiar with the theory of relativity?
Yeah, I am. Actually, I had to read a paper on relativity theory back in university. Mind-bending stuff.
Totally. And the last one.
Owner of the pizzeria versus pizza shop owner. They mean the same thing.
Yeah.
The person who owns the pizza place. But pizza shop owner is just, well, more common, more natural sounding, maybe a bit more concise.
Okay, imagine we're traveling, ordering food. Excuse me, I'm looking for the owner of the pizzeria.
Oh, the pizza shop owner. Yeah, that's Tony. Right over there wiping down the counter.
Perfect. Great examples. Now let's loop back slightly and tackle vocabulary past class. These words might be from a previous lesson, but they're the bedrock, right? The historical data you build upon.
Absolutely fundamental. Okay, let's quickly run through the exercises from the notes. First, choose the correct word.
Let's hear them.
1. The new law had a positive effect on local schools. Remember, effect with an E is usually the noun, the result.
Got it. Noun.
2. He's always very polite to the waiter. Polite means having good manners.
Okay.
3. One small decision can affect your future deeply. Affect with an A is usually the verb, meaning to influence or change.
Verb. Affect. Okay.
4. It's rude to interrupt someone. Rude is the opposite of polite.
Simple enough.
5. She is highly educated. She studied at 3 universities. Educated means she received formal schooling.
Right. Formal learning.
6. Being uneducated doesn't mean being ignorant. Uneducated is the opposite, lacking formal schooling.
Good distinctions. What about the matching part?
Right. Match the words. Affect matches to change or influence something, the verb. Polite matches having good manners. Uneducated matches not having formal education. Rude matches not respectful or impolite. Affect matches the result of something, the noun.
Crystal clear. And now for the really fun part, those false cognates in Portuguese. These are serious linguistic traps waiting to happen in conversations between Brazil and, well, anywhere English speaking.
Oh, absolutely. Huge potential for misunderstandings. These are words that look or sound similar but have totally different meanings.
Text them down.
Okay. First, educado in Portuguese often means polite or well-mannered. But in English, educated specifically means having gone through formal schooling, having degrees, etc. Very different.
Big difference.
Then, assister in Portuguese. You can assist a movie, meaning to watch it. But in English, assist means to help or to aid. If you ask someone if they want to assist a movie with you, they'll be confused.
Oh, yeah, they might think you need help carrying the popcorn.
Exactly. Pretender in Portuguese means to intend or to plan to do something. But in English, pretend means to fake something, to act, to not be genuine. Huge difference in meaning there.
Wow, that one could cause real problems.
Yeah, definitely. Pasta in Portuguese is often a folder for documents, or maybe a briefcase. In English, pasta is, well, food, like spaghetti, lasagna.
Delicious, but not where you keep your documents.
Hopefully not. And finally, realizar in Portuguese often means to achieve, to accomplish, to carry out a task or a dream.
In English, realize means to become aware of something, to understand it suddenly, like, I just realized I left my keys at home.
Got it. Awareness, not accomplishment.
Right. These examples really show why you can't just assume a word means the same thing, even if it looks similar. You got to learn the actual English meaning. Proper navigation skills needed.
Like navigating a tricky market entry strategy. Okay, let's pause for another short break. Commercial break 2. And we're back. Just before the break, we untangled some tricky language usage pairs and reinforced some foundational vocabulary, including those sneaky false friends between Portuguese and English.
Right. And now, to get those vocal cords buzzing again, here's another tongue twister. Politely affecting the educated with a rude effect. Go on, give it a whirl. Nice. Okay, let's sharpen our focus now on pronunciation past class. This is all about fine-tuning your delivery. Because let's be honest, you can have the most brilliant insights, but if your delivery isn't clear, the message gets lost. It's about nailing it.
Precision is absolutely the name of the game here. Let's look at a few words from a previous lesson's notes that often cause trouble.
Lead the way.
First, ancient. It's ancient. 2 syllables. Don't stretch it out like ancient. Think, the ancient ruins were amazing.
Ancient. Got it.
Next, nearly. Sounds like nearly. Again, 2 syllables. We're nearly there. Avoid making it sound like nilly or rushing it.
Nearly. Okay.
Egypt. Starts with a long E sound. Egypt. A common issue for Portuguese speakers is starting with an A sound, but it's E. He traveled to Egypt last year.
Egypt.
Royalty. 3 syllables. R-O-I-U-T. Stress is on the first. The event was attended by royalty. Don't confuse it with reality. Similar shape, different sounds.
R-I-U-T.
And rare. Sounds like rare. 1 syllable with a diphthong vowel sound like an air. Finding such a gem is quite rare. It's not rare with 2 distinct vowel sounds like you might be tempted to do coming from Portuguese. Soft R. Glide the vowel.
Rare, like air. Got it.
Mastering these subtle sounds. That's what elevates your speaking from just understandable to truly professional and clear. Command the room.
Absolutely. Command the room. I love that. Okay, now let's immerse ourselves in a really powerful piece from the notes. Stories that shaped women's paths. This is for the reading and thinking section. Think of it as a compelling case study in resilience and making an impact. I'm going to read the full text now, try to bring it to life. As a young journalist, Morelli always paid attention to every pronoun in a story, knowing that identity matters. She had saw enough horror in war documentaries to recognize that language had the power to either reinforce or break stereotypes. Through her interviews, she discovered remarkable life stories, especially from women who had faced enormous barriers in their time. One day, while researching for an article on historical science icons, she stumbled upon the journey of a chemist who had studied radioactivity and received the Nobel Prize in chemistry. That woman had saved countless lives with her discoveries, all while raising a family and working under heavy societal pressure. Another figure that inspired Morelli deeply was a civil rights activist who had grown up in a segregated town. That woman had also overcome prejudice with courage and wit, using her voice to empower young girls and speak up for change. Morelli had written about her legacy with a shaking pen and a hopeful heart, knowing that consistency in reporting truth was the key to becoming more than just a columnist. It was the path to becoming a chronicler of courage. By the time Morelli had received her first award for investigative journalism, she had already shaped her own identity. She had learned to balance creativity and fact-checking, emotion, and logic. Her dream wasn't just to be published, but to help build bridges between stories and society. In every article she crafted, there was a silent echo of the women who had come before her, who had fought, failed, risen again, and changed the world one word, one pronoun at a time.
Wow, that's quite a piece. Really evocative. It does make me wonder, though. The text heavily emphasizes individual courage as the main driver of change. But, playing devil's advocate here, aren't larger systemic forces often just as, if not more, important? Like, take Marie Curie. Incredible courage, no doubt. But wasn't the scientific world also kind of ready? Weren't discoveries about radioactivity happening elsewhere too? Maybe her recognition was also partly about timing and the existing scientific structures.
Interesting point, but I have to push back a bit. I think you're underplaying the individual impact. This text specifically highlights how individuals faced and overcame massive personal systemic prejudice. It wasn't just the system being ready, it was individuals like Curie, like the activist mentioned, who actively fought against the system, who showed immense courage that forced the system to change, or at least make space. Morelli's story echoes that her choice to be a chronicler of courage is an individual act that aims to reshape narratives. It feels like the individual actions create the pressure for systemic shifts.
Okay, I see your point. The individual as the catalyst. But maybe we can agree that the language used is crucial either way. The text itself points this out with the focus on pronoun, on how words can build or break stereotypes. The narrative, the story we tell about these events and people, whether focusing on the individual or the system, profoundly shapes how we understand history and progress. It's like a startup's pitch deck. The story you craft around your product is almost as important as the product itself, right?
Absolutely. The framing, the narrative, it's everything. It's how you found a legacy, how you break barriers, not just in history books, but in everyday business, and crafting your own story. Which actually leads us perfectly into the speaking section, thinking about how you project your voice, your story, into the market.
Right. And this section is all about taking that text we just read and using it for focused pronunciation practice. Reading it aloud, concentrating on specific sounds, like perfecting your marketing copy before a major launch. We're going to revisit that same text, but this time, laser focus on the highlighted words and their sounds.
Let's do it.
Okay, listen carefully again to these specific words. Pronoun stress on the first syllable. Saw that clear aw sound. Horror, make sure that H is audible. Through the sound, distinct from throughout, which has 3 syllables. Remarkable stress on mark. Women, that short I sound, Wyman. Faced ends with a T sound. Barriers stress on ba. Chemist starts with a K sound. Radioactivity, keep all those vowels clear. Received long E sound in the middle. Ends in D. Chemistry again, K sound. Saved ends in D. Callous starts with K. Another stress on no. Activist stress on ac. Segregated stress on say. Overcome stress on come. Prejudice, courage. Written silent W. Written. Shaped ends in T. Fought silent ac. Sounds like fought.
That is meticulous and so necessary. That's how you ensure your voice, your message cuts through the noise. Now, closely related is essay writing, or as we might call it, crafting your narrative.
Exactly. The core task here, based on the notes, was, based on the script below, what do you think will happen next in the story we just watched? The purpose is clear. Develop your ability to predict, to analyze, to continue a narrative logically. It's very much like drafting a business proposal. You take existing info and project a compelling future.
And thinking conceptually about Mareilly and Sophia's first draft, which, okay, the notes say was left blank, but hypothetically.
Right, the starting point.
That first draft at the B1 level often shows common hurdles, doesn't it? Maybe some awkward sentence structures, ideas not flowing smoothly, some basic grammar slips. It's like launching version 1.0 of an app. The core function is there, but it needs polishing. The user experience isn't quite smooth yet.
That's a great analogy. And that's where the teacher's enhancement insights and the second draft corrections come in. The feedback would push them to elevate it. We'd suggest, stronger, more vivid verbs instead of basic ones, maybe varying sentence beginnings instead of starting every sentence the same way, using more complex structures, perhaps combining some short sentences, and definitely refining the main point, the thesis. It's like iterating on that app, refining the code, improving the UI based on feedback, making the pitch stronger.
Exactly. Adding the data, the compelling call to action, and the ultimate goal, a final version. Something polished, persuasive, well-structured, something good enough, truly, to be published on the Academia BSB students blog, students.AcademiaBSB.com.br blog. It showcases not just good grammar, but real critical thinking and a strong narrative voice. Ready for prime time.
Ready to make an impact.
Okay, perfect place for our third break. Stick around. Commercial break 3.
Welcome back for the final push. We've journeyed through storytelling, essay crafting, and honing that all-important delivery. Indeed. And to cap off that practice, one last tongue twister, weaving together several elements. The courageous activist overcame prejudice throughout her remarkable journey abroad. See if you can wrap your tongue around that one.
Challenging. Okay, let's broaden our scope now to listening and comprehension. This is all about tuning into that global frequency, isn't it? For Mareilly and Sophia, the goal here is sharpening that ability to really understand spoken English, no matter the accent, speed, or context.
It's absolutely vital. Think about real-world applications, understanding global market trends from a news report, following complex discussions on investor calls, even just networking effectively at international conferences. You have to practice listening with authentic, up-to-date materials from native speakers. It trains your ear for the rhythm, the idioms, the nuances that textbooks alone just can't capture.
And working perfectly in tandem with listening is watching and understanding. Visualizing success, you could say. Watching movies, news, series, even just clips of real-life events from English-speaking countries. The benefits for language learners are huge.
Oh, enormous. The visual context adds so much. The specific video link in the notes, https.academiabsb.com.bronp-content uploads, Tunil 2505, movie lesson-001 out of P4 serves as the basis for that writing exercise we discussed. Watching helps you connect language to action, to emotion, to cultural context. You see body language, facial expressions. It's like immersing yourself in a new business culture virtually, picking up unspoken rules and communication styles. It accelerates understanding and cultural fluency massively.
So true. Okay, next section header in the notes. Idiomatic expressions, speaking the local lingo. So important for sounding natural and, really connecting with people.
Definitely. Using idioms correctly is often seen as a hallmark of fluency. They add color and authenticity to your speech. Think about informal business chats, networking, or even just navigating travel situations. These are phrases like, say, hit the ground running, where the literal meaning doesn't match the actual meaning.
Right, it means starting something quickly and energetically.
Exactly. Now, the notes for this particular lesson mention the section, but didn't actually provide specific idioms to focus on this time, which is okay. It highlights that language learning is continuous. You have to keep your ears open in the real world, constantly spotting these expressions, these emerging trends in language, just like spotting trends in business.
Always learning. Maybe we can quickly touch on one that's super relevant to the startup world.
Good idea. How about to pivot?
Ah, yes. Very common. So if your initial business idea isn't quite working out,
You need to pivot.
yeah,
It means making a significant change in your strategy or direction, often based on feedback or market shifts. You don't give up, you adapt. It's all about agility, a core concept in the startup ecosystem.
excellent example. Okay, let's take one last quick pause before we wrap things up. Pre-outro break. And we're back for the final segment. Hope you're feeling energized and ready to consolidate everything we've explored today.
Before we sign off, let's take a moment to acknowledge the fantastic work Miroli and Sophia are doing. Their overall development is genuinely impressive. They're navigating the complexities of the CEFRL B1 level with real skill and determination.
Yeah, they really are.
And we can actually quantify some of that progress looking at their class stats. Vocabulary growth shows 16 new words this session, boosting their comprehensive lexicon repertory to a solid 543 words.
Nice.
Their oral fluency and speech engagement span has stretched out to 38 minutes, which is great. And their listening wavelength, their sonic engagement, clocked in at almost 3 hours of focused listening practice.
Wow.
Now, the phonetic deviation ratio is at 360%. This tells us pronunciation is still an area needing consistent focus, which is totally normal at this stage. But the overall trajectory, definitely upward. They are building serious momentum.
Absolutely. And speaking of building momentum, Marweli Sophia, here comes the gentle but firm reminder. Academia BSB, well, we have a methodology, right? And doing your homework, it's definitely part of that methodology.
Yeah, it's the secret sauce.
It really is. Consistent practice is what cements the learning. It's what turns classroom knowledge into real skill, helping you nail those university admissions, whether here or abroad. So make sure you review that past class vocabulary text answer key. Keep up the great work.
And to support that continued effort, don't forget the additional resources. Think of the bibliographic references as your essential background reading, your research material for this ongoing project of mastering English.
Where can they find that again?
The link for the full notes for this unit is in the show description, but it's https://students.AcademiaBSB.com.brwp-contemplotes. 22-1-7-7 Academia BSB English Conversations T250 2250-626 Unit 28 Present Perfect Simple and Past-Simple.pdf. Definitely worth revisiting.
Perfect. And looking ahead, what's on the horizon for our UP-scoming linguistic scope?
Next time we're tackling two really powerful grammatical structures. The passive voice and reported speech, essential tools for sophisticated communication. Let's try a quick role-play scenario to get you thinking. Imagine you're debriefing after an important client meeting.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, did the client say that the proposal was approved? Or did they just mention that approval was being considered? Using reported speech and passive voice.
Subtle but crucial difference. And regarding the next steps, were you told exactly what needs to be done by Friday, or did they just ask if it could be finished? More passive and reporting speech.
Exactly. See how these structures let you be precise about who did what, who said what, and the status of actions. Invaluable for clear reporting and understanding in any professional setting. Lots to unpack there next time.
Can't wait. Okay, one final short break, and then we'll wrap it all up. Final short break. All right, as we bring this session to a close, it's really powerful to reflect on the threads running through our conversation today. Themes of building something new, of facing and overcoming challenges, and the fundamental role language plays in all of it. It actually brings to mind a quote, a really profound one from someone we touched upon earlier, Marie Curie.
Ah, yes. an incredible figure. Marie Curie, that pioneering chemist and physicist, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, unbelievably the only person ever to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields.
Yeah.
She faced immense barriers.
Truly remarkable.
And she had this quote which really resonates. She said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less."
Wow. Understand more so that we may fear less.
Exactly. And the context makes it even more powerful. This came from her reflections during the early 20th century, a time of huge scientific upheaval and discovery, but also a time when being a woman in science meant facing constant prejudice and skepticism. Her entire life was about pushing boundaries, about pursuing understanding despite the fear and obstacles.
It connects so perfectly to what we've been discussing. That need to understand complex systems, whether it's English grammar, quantum physics, or launching a startup. It's about having the courage to face the unknown, to overcome the barriers driven by that desire to understand, just like Mireille and Sophia are doing as they prepare for demanding medical careers.
It's a timeless message about the power of knowledge and persistence over fear.
Beautifully put. And on that inspiring note, we'll conclude today's exploration. Always remember the guiding principle here at Academia BSB, our motto.
It is not only about the language, it is all about communication.
Thank you so much for joining us. Keep learning, keep communicating, and we'll catch you next time.